Hello and welcome to Student Union. The last couple of weeks have been important for every candidate as we approach Super Tuesday. Candidates are fighting tooth and nail for nomination from their parties. Bernie Sanders, one of the Democratic candidates, has won Colorado, Michigan, Kansas, Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire. But he is still slightly under Hillary with number of delegates in the race. Bernie gave a speech recently after winning New Hampshire. Here to discuss the speech is my co-host Abigail, the president of Super Government, Jaden, and columnist at Pinecrest Post, Veronica. So, Abigail, what do you think of making colleges and universities free, which candidate Bernie Sanders has promised?
How are we as a country going to pay for free college? Well, Bernie says that he will tax Wall Street to pay for the students' tuition. Taking billions of dollars away from the stock companies will only negatively affect us. Taxing Wall Street would only deplete our stocks and make our economy suffer. People will stop investing in stocks and our whole country will suffer. It will only put us in more debt because we'll have to bail out Wall Street again. Our stocks will almost be as low as they were in the Great Depression.
I can see how taxing Wall Street could possibly affect our economy in a negative way, but comparing an economy that is currently suffering from national debt to an event that could reoccur like a Great Depression would be false. If tuition was free and available to all students, this would make the percentage of high school and college dropouts less prevalent. Bernie is creating a way to make education available to all students and increase their knowledges without the stress of tuition costs.
I see where this would cause the negative effects on the economy greatly. What I see, though, is the effort finally being attempted to make college an option for all. There is a lot for young students who would like to go to college, who cannot afford it, and are stuck with a minimum pay.
I would like to say that we can barely afford our education now.
Okay, how do you feel about Bernie stating that the last Republican occupation of the White House has ruined the economy?
Regardless of what occurred when the last Republican was in office, it cannot directly be linked to all the candidates of that same party. Since we have learned from our mistakes, it should not all be punished for the mistakes that a certain candidate made. If a new Republican candidate makes it in office and makes the same mistakes, that's when we can say that our economic issues could possibly be linked to the political party. But until then, it cannot be proven true.
Looking back on the Republican Party when occupying the White House, we can see how we experienced an economic downturn in the ways of national debt. With that said, it is easier than we might expect to experience the national debt, but I agree that it cannot be pinned down on the Republican candidates today.
The political parties of Republican and Democrats will never see eye to eye and will always think of the worst of one another, and there is no way around that. When someone is Democratic, they will obviously see the Republican Party as evil, and the Republican Party will see the Democratic Party the same way. We have to accept the fact that no matter how much our nation matures, the political parties are always going to try to make the mistakes of one another more highlighted than the good they have achieved.
$29 million Americans should not remain uninsured. True. Okay, so in Bernie's speech, it was also stated that 29 million Americans did not have insurance. While that is true, the numbers are actually higher. There are 33 million people without insurance, though in the year of 2014, Obamacare did help 9 million Americans gain insurance. However, countless others remain uninsured.
I see the mistake of the miscounting of population, but regardless of the numbers, the first step of running in presidential office is addressing healthcare, and that's exactly what Bernie did. He's working towards getting all Americans of every class healthcare because everyone deserves an equal chance and increased health, regardless of what background they come from.
Alright, let's move on to the fourth claim for today. That is the 1% of rich Americans that have more money put together than the whole bottom 90%.
Well, obviously, the 1% Americans have a lot of money because they are the 1%, and I don't think the way to go about this is to heavily tax them. The top 1% hold the economy of this country in their hands. Bernie Sanders blames the rich for all the problems in this country. Hitler did the same thing. Hitler blamed the wealthy bank owners for all the problems in Germany. He blamed the Jews.
I think they should pay more taxes because it would help to supplement the economy.
I don't think that taxing the 1% higher is really going to affect us that much because only a handful of people would actually be paying it, and it won't add up as much as America needs.
Top 3 drug companies made $45 million in the profit of last year. This is a true fact. And what about Claim 5? That the top drug companies have made $45 million and are cheating Americans.
I think it's ridiculous that corporate America has this much control over everyday lives of the citizens. The drug companies should not be charging people so much for treatment. It is a necessity and everyone needs it eventually. It should be cheaper and should be available.
I agree. Along with healthcare, I think drugs should be more affordable and easier for everyone to obtain.
What? Go away. Let's tape on. We'll get that in the next tape.
Alright. While I do agree that Americans are getting charged way too much for the U.S. for drugs in the U.S. I'm so sorry.
Okay, just skip to
Okay.
the end. We'll
Okay,
we'll record
I'll-
this again.
okay. While I do agree that Americans are getting charged way too much for drugs in the U.S., the solution is not a free or affordable national health care plan. The drug companies will still charge whatever they want because this is a capitalist country. The people won't pay for their expensive drugs. The national health care plan will cover it, which the government is paying for. We will all be taxed a lot more. Britain has a national free health care plan. However, the government takes 40% out of their annual salary to pay for their health problems of other citizens. A national health care plan will only result in the country being in more debt and to the drug companies or Americans being taxed heavily. And with the obesity of this country only getting more prevalent, there will be more and more health problems to pay for, and you will be paying for other people's health problems and obesity problems.
Let's move on to the issue Bernie has been addressing for a long time, his policy on super PACs. In his speech, he claimed that he has not been receiving benefits from a super PAC and doesn't want one.
Town Hall has said that Bernie's campaign does have a super PAC and that he's benefiting from it.
Regardless if he actually has a super PAC or not, I think Bernie's personal character is represented through this claim. It goes to show how he is in reforming the United States without being endorsed by super companies. Saying Bernie is not a man of his word cannot be proven until elected into office.
In addition to that, Jaden, the Washington Post has said that the only super PAC that really gives money to Bernie is a special interest group of nurses. However, he only benefits from this PAC through his correlation.
Although some of Bernie's claims have been said to be out of the ordinary, he is overall a mostly honest candidate. He has been falling behind the polls recently, so I don't think he'll remain in the race much longer. He is a Democratic candidate and claims to be a socialist. His socialism shows throughout his claims and what he plans to do for this country. He takes a socialist approach to almost all matters that he addresses. Despite that, he is a very honest candidate. Tune in next Tuesday to see if Bernie actually pulled off the leading poll in Ohio. Thanks for tuning in to Student Union for updates on political candidates. See you next time.